On the 24th of September, I just want to make 3 points about the Old Testament passage. The first one is that God is faithful. And one of the great things about reading the Old Testament is we get to see these people that live the whole of their lives following Yahweh, following God. And as they do that, they have things that go well and things that go wrong. And Jacob has a whole load of stuff that happens to him. Some of it he brings on himself, and other things people take advantage of him and stuff like that. But here, in his old age, as he's towards the end of his life, he's able to testify to the faithfulness of God. He talks about him in verse 15 of chapter 48 as the one who's been his shepherd all my life, the one who's delivered me from all harm. And there's a weightiness about that because of the life that he's lived. You know, when you talk to old people who've kind of had a roller coaster of a life, and yet at the end they're still saying God is faithful, they're still saying God is trustworthy. There's an authority and a weightiness to that because of what they've lived. And for us today, wherever we're at in life, we can draw confidence from Jacob's testimony to the faithfulness of God. It may feel like at the moment he's miles away, but he's faithful and he's got power to deliver us however we feel in this particular moment at this particular time. Secondly, Jacob's not just talking about the past, but he's talking about the future. And he's saying, look, the promises are still available for us. He's talking in verse 3 and 4 of chapter 48 about the fact they're still going to have the land. And what that shows is he's not settling for what's going on now. He's not settling for Egypt, even though Egypt was pretty good. You know, your son's the prime minister, you got a lot to eat, you live in a palace probably, or certainly a nice house. And it's like, that's pretty good. But he's not settling for pretty good. He wants the whole of the promise of God. He's still anticipating what's coming up in the future, the land. And for us, we can settle sometimes for pretty good, for kind of feeling loved and kind of knowing forgiveness and sort of following Jesus and having a bit of God in our lives every now and then. Don't settle for that. There's so much more available. The richness of the blessings of Jesus are available for all of us. And that means total peace and total knowing you're accepted and total love and just all of it just consuming who we are. The joy of what it is to be totally and fully accepted. Have we settled for this? Is this really all it's meant to be? Jacob is anticipating the future and he's pursuing that and he's clinging on to the promises. And the final thing, I love it, he talks to his grandsons here and he talks to his son Joseph. And what he's not saying is it's about him, the parent. It's not about the parent, it's about the promise. And some of us will have grown up in homes where our parents aren't Christians. For many of us, our parents will be Christians. But this is the thing, it's not about our parents, it's about the promises of God. And for us, it's not being bound to our parents and their faith, but the promises of God. Maybe promises that he's made to them that they've believed, but he also makes them for us and for us today. So you cling on to those promises for yourself. It's all about, in that sense, us knowing that God makes those promises to us as individuals, as well as to us as a people.